Hello and welcome back to the Deborah Peters Show. My name, of course, is Deborah Peters, and I am absolutely thrilled to have you join me today. I am back in Tennessee, broadcasting remotely again, and I was just sharing with my guest as we were prepping for today's show how it's never really certain what kind of lighting I'm going to get, so bear with me. And as we go into this, I want to give a little bit of background about this show and the reason we're doing this. It is a show that is all about consciousness. So living your life on the leading edge of thought. Every manifestation is leading edge. Every time you step out there in your life, in your business, in your personal life, in the world, and you take another step toward what you want, you open up your neurology, your connection to the universe, to God, and you increase and expand your awareness. And that's what this show is all about. It's about self-awareness. It's about consciousness, consciousness in your health, consciousness in your wealth, consciousness in your relationships, which is very important, consciousness in your business, which is what keeps the world turning, and of course, consciousness in your self-expression. So I thank you for being here today. This is all about your spiritual quotient in your business. And I'm delighted to introduce my guest, Ambila Nath from the UK. We just had a fantastic time in the pre-interview because we just couldn't stop talking. We were both on the same page. So thank you for being here today. I know it's nighttime in the UK, and I appreciate you jumping on here with me.
Deborah, it's such a pleasure. And we live in an international world now, international business. So time is not an issue.
It's true. It's true. And I think of many times when I've flown abroad and done work in the UK and in Europe, and I've never had an issue with jet lag. Everybody always asks me, what's your magic? And I do have a formula for it, but I always think that if you just stay in the present moment, like none of it really matters other than what you're doing right now, because you're creating tomorrow, you're creating your objectives, your goals, your dreams through being present right now and just maximizing this moment as much as possible.
And isn't that the most difficult thing? I have this conversation with so many people, and the main thing that they always touch on is how children are, enjoy and live in the moment, whereas we adults are constantly running either to the future or stuck in our past. So therefore time is flowing so much quicker for us. But I think that is such a gem of a nugget to stay in the present.
Yeah, and it's tricky. I mean, our nervous system, our senses, our sensory acuity. I always say, we live life through our senses. So what we hear, see, smell, taste, touch, intuit, self-talk, that's how we perceive reality. It's how we perceive the world coming to us and through us. And it's how we project our desires and wants and goals out into the quantum field, which at some point solidifies into, physical, tangible results. And with all of that going on, and it sounds like it's a big deal, but it's really, nanosecond kind of stuff. The tricky part, like you said, is to stay in that present moment and not let the pain of some past experience, the failure of some past experience, or the fear of some future what if drag on you and pull on you. And, it's all this stuff is vying for your attention all the time.
Exactly. And I think we've been conditioned that way.
Sure.
Because we've not been taught any different until, I think, I'll be very honest, until I started personal development and actually training to be a coach myself. All of these things and skills and techniques and knowledge that I have now, I didn't have. So therefore, I think the norm until we learn it is that we are living in the past. We are carrying that pain with us, the guilt, the what ifs, the regrets, the hopes that the future is going to turn out the way we want, which is all about controlling.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah.
Control.
You nailed it. You totally nailed it.
Yeah.
I used to facilitate, and I'm thinking about starting them up again, but I'm a master trainer in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And I used to facilitate all the 3 different levels of certification: practitioner, master practitioner, and trainer's training. And the thing that I loved about teaching those courses, and they were multiple days long. I think practitioner I taught it as a 9-day class, and trainer's training I taught as a 21 days. So it was, 3 6-day weeks. Was the virtual reality theater of my mind, and how I could disappear from current time into other timelines with my imagination, which could really and does work well for me when I'm in my imagination for what I desire. But to your point, of the negativity and the fears and the doubts and the what could go wrongs, and I spent a whole lot of time entertaining the drama of the negativity and lamenting the past, or having arguments with people in my head that just were not even a thing. I was just creating all that because I didn't know. I didn't know until I actually decided, like you, to go down the personal growth path. I didn't know how that was hijacking my success.
And it's keeping us in our comfort zone, because at the end of the day, it's that fight and flight reaction that we have. And in staying in our past, staying in our pain, it's a condition that we know of. We know how we need to behave. We know how others are going to behave towards us, how they're going to treat us, because we've trained them to treat us. And because you know all of that, it just makes it comfortable.
Well, yeah, or you don't know any of that because you're so unconscious to it.
That's what that's the add-on, that you are unconscious to it, but it's just natural. But what we're doing is actually keeping ourselves stuck in a comfort zone.
Yeah, that is in many cases extremely painful. Isn't that the irony? We keep ourselves from our greatest expression, our greatest gifts, our greatest dessert, in life. But as we're doing that, what we call our comfort zone, what we really mean by that, I've always wanted to unpack that word, because I heard it for so many times or so many years and didn't quite click. Like I knew what it meant, but there was something deeper that I was missing, because there wasn't anything comfortable about my comfort zone. And I think a lot of people would agree with that, right? It's just a lot of my comfort zone was excruciatingly painful. And I've seen clients do that, where they keep themselves stuck in this. It's like if you've ever been on a river and gone whitewater rafting, if you ever shot any white water, there's a churn to the water, and it just will keep, if you fall in, it'll just keep circulating you around in the same circle, banging you against the same rocks, sucking you down and like pulling you under. And I think that's just a really great metaphor for what we do with our thinking to ourselves.
Exactly. It's the familiarity of, the pain is the familiarity of how we need to behave. And touching on, something that you mentioned, it's very much about, until we know any different, we're in that pattern. Yeah. And plus it's that fear of the unknown, because if I fix this and I heal myself on the pain, I don't know what's going to come next.
Yeah, you nailed it when you said the word pattern. So I think when we can start to use these different words to explain it. So instead of comfort zone, it's really uh, like a negative washing machine. Instead of a familiarity, it's a pattern. I think what some of the reframing on the language does is it helps us create a separation.
Yeah.
And if we can start to separate the concept from who we are, like the concept of what we're doing to ourselves, if we can relanguage that from who we really are, then we can start to pull ourselves in a different direction, or take ourselves out of that pain and suffering into, you know, whatever the next gradient is on the emotional scale might be. Maybe we don't necessarily go from pain and suffering to I'm so happy, you know, but maybe we go from pain and suffering to, okay, there's some release, there's some relief. I can rest for a minute. I'm okay. It's a gradient.
Yeah. And you really, really did just touch on that, is the power of language. That it's the words that you use that you associate. And if we can disassociate with that, but also simplify to our listeners what we're talking about, because I have a tendency to go into the coaching terms.
I know, right?
Until I correct myself and go,
I
they
do
don't know
too.
what I mean. So yeah, so thank you for that reminder. But yes, the power of language is so important in
It
terms
really
of how
is.
the mind works.
Yeah, there's been a lot of emphasis in the personal growth world on the concept of spelling, you know, that linguistics are actually words that weave energy or create energetic nets in our lives that are actually spells. You know, when you curse someone, you curse yourself. When you praise someone, you praise yourself.
Yeah.
And it's that old wives' tale or witches' rule about, you know, what you put out comes back tenfold. Look out, right? So always be kind and always be generous, and you know, have some sort of compassion for where people are at, instead of being too judgy and you know, too exclusive. But you also, I think we can also benefit from being a bit of a vibrational snob too, and that there's nothing wrong with that. It's, if you don't vibe with someone, you just don't vibe with them, and there's nothing wrong with either person.
No, it's not. It's just where the level of where your energy is at, and whether you're actually meeting one another at the same level. And it doesn't necessarily have to, I mean, the plain example is that sometimes with your friends, partner, family, you can have not so much an argument, but you're just in that space where you don't see eye to eye. So it may be that you don't spend time with them, and you'll go and, you know, read a book or watch TV in a different room. And that's not saying you dislike them. It's just basically saying that at that moment in time, your energies aren't matching, and you need your own space for, you know, growth, going through whatever it may be that you're going through. But it's amazing how we subconsciously read each other's energies.
Yes, 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 because we pick up on each other even before we meet physically.
Yeah.
I had this really amazing experience yesterday that I want to share with you, because you'll get it and we can maybe use it as a talking tool. I have been really, what's the word? In a dedicated kind of way, like a devotional sort of way, been spending a good chunk of time each day getting into the feeling, not just visualizing. Because I'm preaching this all the time to people. You can visualize for the rest of your life, and it won't show up.
Yeah.
But when you get into the feeling,
yeah,
then that's a whole other attraction factor, right? That's like that's the magnet. So this okay. So we have a viewer that says his name's Judson and says, in today's times it's very hard to meet someone else's energies. Well, it's tricky for sure, because I think everybody's shifting and changing, right, with what's coming at them. It's like, who am I today? What am I supposed to believe today? But let's come back to that. So,
Yeah.
so
I do have an answer to that, Judson. So
okay, good. So I'm doing some time every day. It's just more like, okay, I don't necessarily set the clock. I roll with it until I can't easily do it. And when I start efforting at doing it, then I let it go. So it might be 10 minutes, it might be 5. But what I've been doing is I've been doing some exercises where I have a visualization of something I'm creating, and then I get into the feeling of it as if it's already happened, as if I've already had the experience. And I apply a couple different tools of, people cheering for me, or me jumping up and down and going, woohoo, this is so cool, I did it. These little kinds of celebratory behaviors with auditory and great feeling. And so I've been playing with this, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. And I'm driving across one of the states yesterday, and it was probably about a 3.5-hour drive. And I pull up to this intersection at this light, and there's a vehicle parked next to me. But coming up to the intersection, they were in front of me, then I was in front of them, back and forth, back and forth. And then we pull up to the intersection, and there's a car between us. And I said to myself, if this is a demonstration, if this is a manifestation of the energy that I put out, if I just let my foot off the brake and creep forward, even just like 2-3 inches, and they do the same, and they follow and they do the same, then that's my sign that what I'm doing is working. And that's all it has to be.
Yeah.
Right. So I did. I took my foot off the brake. I rolled forward about 3-4 inches, and then the car next to me stayed still. But the car that I was doing the experiment with, they rolled forward 3 or 4 inches, and then we both looked at each other and had this big grin on our faces. It's like we were both up to the same shenanigans. It was like to see if we were both getting the other person to respond.
Yeah.
Probably never see that person again in my lifetime.
But you got the sign. That's the important part.
Yeah, paid attention.
Yeah. And it's amazing just how many times we don't pay attention to actually see those signs. And what you said relating to the feelings, that is the key. That is the key to manifestation, which took me so long to realize, because I was all about the visualization, I was all about the affirmations, I was all about the mind positivity. And I never understood when I used to hear people like Tony Robbins and so many other coaches talk about the feeling. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Of course I'm feeling it because I'm thinking it. So, but actually, yeah. But as soon as you get that, it's like, whoa.
Yeah. And it's really about paying attention.
Yeah.
And, it kind of goes back full circle when we started the show about being in present time.
Yeah.
I could have been thinking about a whole bunch of other stuff, but I was paying attention. And I had asked that morning, as I was prepping for the day, doing my morning routine, I have a little ritual I do where I meditate and I write a few things down, and I get into the feeling of a goal or two, and I let that roll around a bit. And when I exited that process, I said, okay, so show me if I'm getting any traction on this.
Yeah.
And there it was. And it was just so fun. I smiled all the way home. I got home. I got all because I'm staying in a different place tonight again, which is another conversation. But I got unpacked, unloaded my vehicle, got into bed, and I hit my head at the pillow, had this big grin on my face, just like, yeah, I'm on it. I'm doing it.
Which is wonderful. May I please answer Judson?
Yes.
Because I'm aware that they're probably waiting for us. So Judson, my answer to your question relating to it's very hard to meet someone else's energies, 100%. But our job on this world, this life, whatever, is to meet our own energies. And then if people match up to that energy, that's entirely up to them. But just focus on your own energy, and it won't happen instantly, because again, it's what we were talking about, the awareness and being open to seeing it. But you will start meeting people who automatically just resonate in your energy without you feeling you need to be, aware of them. They'll just come to you. So just focus on yourself and not so much what others are doing.
Right. And just to take it a step further is stop saying that it's hard to meet someone else.
Yes. Yeah.
Because, again, spells like these words manifest.
Yeah.
And so I have a client that he doesn't anymore. I trained him, but he used to say, we hope for the best and we plan for the worst.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, which is it?
Yeah.
Are you hoping for the best? Are you planning for the worst? Well, it's like we can hope for the best, but he's in the financial markets. He's like, but we got to, no. And I'm like, no, it's split energy, right? Yeah. You're either hoping for the best or you're planning for the worst. You're like, which is
exactly.
It? Yeah.
And the universe is not going to give you anything. So therefore, then you're going to wonder why you're not getting anything.
Well, I think you usually get what you plan for, because hope is sort of one of those non-committal kind of words, right?
It's a desire, isn't it? It's a wish that you're wanting it to happen, to manifest, but they're not really taking the action towards it.
No commitment. Yeah. It's like try.
Yes.
It's like when somebody says to me, I'll try to make it.
Yeah.
At first I used to just be like, okay, but now I'm real straightforward and I'm like, I'll just take it that you're not coming.
Yeah.
No, I'll try to make it. It's like, no, you won't, because there's no such thing as try. Just say you don't want to come, or just say you have another commitment.
Exactly. And that is one word I am taking out of my vocabulary, because it's amazing how often we humans use the word try.
It's a filler word.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a word we use when we're not committed.
Yeah.
So basically, we're just nonsensing ourselves.
Yes. Yeah. So I tell myself. So yeah, I consciously, when I catch myself using that word, I'm like, nope, different. What are you doing? Are you actually going to do it or not do it?
Yeah. So before we switch over into spiritual quotient in business, because I think this is a really super cool topic. One last comment. Judson says, thank you. I'm a positive spirited guy. No doubt. You wouldn't be on here if you weren't. And always putting out good vibes. I believe that too. My point was, with everything going on, it's hard sometimes to get them. Oh, okay. Can I respond to this one? It's like, first of all, it's not your job. It's not your job to get anybody to think anything, because we all have our own process and evolution that we're going through, and it's not your job. It's just not your job. Mm-hmm. And then secondly, the cool thing about everything that's going on in the world is, and there's a lot of negativity to it, 100%. There's a lot of stuff going on that I think is just absolutely egregious, but that's another conversation for another day. So just for this point, the upside of everything that's going on in the world is it's waking people up. And people are starting to question how well programmed they've been, not seeing who they really are. And the truth of who we all really are is that you can be, do, and have anything. And you're doing it all the time anyway. You're being whoever you focus yourself into being. And the key to that is, first of all, having a curiosity that maybe you could be different, having a desire to explore, having the discipline to override the normal mainstream inflow of messaging, status quo, societal constructs that are coming at you that tell you that you're a weak victim and that you should have everything that's outside of you determine your happiness. And it's just like you have to want it. You have to want to be a bigger you. And in order to do that, sometimes you have to go it alone. Right?
And it's not an easy road when you go it alone.
No,
but as I said, you do meet the energies who start to resonate with you, who are the positives, and the ones who don't vibe, won't vibe, or are in their own journey. You just have to leave them to get on with it.
Yeah, and then you meet all sorts of people. We were chatting before the show, and I was saying how I've been on the road since the end of May. So it's been about 8 weeks of just cruising around, working from my laptop. Well, actually, my desktop. I brought my desktop, and I have enough stuff with me to just go through a whole summer season, and then I'll have to change out my stuff. But the cool thing is that I'm making friends really quickly because I might not be here next week in this city. I might be in a different city. And so it makes me really present. And it makes me very astute to people's energy because I know immediately. I think we all do all the time anyway. We just ignore it. I know immediately who I should spend time with and who would not be a good idea for me to spend time with.
Yeah.
And I just act on it. I'm not like waiting around to see this or that. It's just like, boom, trust and keep moving. And to your point, the people that vibe with you, resonate with you, they'll stay the course, right?
And it's also realizing that not every energy will be with us throughout our lives. Some energies only come to either teach us a lesson. What's that saying? They're here for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So it's just knowing and not being attached that you need to hold on to them just because. I've had friendships for over decades with people, and then we've gone our separate ways. And that's been okay. And I'm not talking about intimate relationships, I'm talking about actual friends. And that's been okay because we've started taking different paths. So you've got to be ready to let that go rather than hold on to it just because you had history, you had past, they were there throughout your pains that you went through. Yeah, they were all my old pains. They're not my new pains.
Yeah.
I have new friends for the new pains. So you've got to be not attached to how long these people stay in your lives, but just keep it as a blessing for as long as they are.
Let go of attachments.
Yeah,
absolutely. So all of this spiritual stuff we're talking about, we've more or less been applying to relationships, and all relationships are a mirror for the relationship we have with ourselves. And to quote Neville Goddard, every person you meet is just you outpictured.
Yeah.
So how does this apply in a business?
It's the same concept, isn't it? Because we're meeting business partners. We're meeting, like Deborah and I have, met. We are mirroring each other. There will be things within our businesses that we probably need to be fixing, dealing with, or manifesting, that we're meeting other people that are going to either help us to do that, or, as you said, be the brightest, shiniest mirror to outline that actually that's where we need to be focusing on and not wasting our time focusing on the things that are wasting time. So that there's been so many times where I always say to my clients, if there is something about somebody, whether it's a colleague, business associate, friends, family, whatever, that is irritating the hell out of you, that you get frustrated and angry at that particular kind of behavior, you need to really look into yourself. Where within your own life do you trigger that for other people? So there's got to be something within you that's triggering it, hence why you're picking it up for somebody else, because your subconscious is saying, okay, you're ready to let this go. It could have been an old pain or something that you were holding on to. So in terms of the business elements, it's the same thing. It's looking at what is it in your business that you're trying to create, manifest, attract. And if it's not happening, then look around you and what is it within your vicinity, your awareness, your consciousness that, again, I'm looking at language, but I'll use it and then I'll probably correct myself, hurdles, obstacles, challenges that you're putting in front of yourself that is stopping you from, figuring it out.
Yeah, because they're just mirroring it all back to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I coach CEOs of mid-sized companies, and typically they're men. I would say probably in my coaching lifetime, I don't think I've had one female CEO. Maybe one. Yeah, maybe one in the construction industry, which is interesting.
Okay.
However, to me, it's like it doesn't make any difference what sex they are, male, female. There's because who we are being is what we project into all of our relationships, whether that's the people at home that we call our family, living under the one roof together, or if it's our team at work that live under different roofs. It's just, it doesn't make any difference really. But one of the things I've been saying for years, I've always kind of sort of been ahead of my time on this, but so they can finally hear me, is that don't just hire by the resume.
Mm-hmm.
And, I had a podcast like a few weeks ago where we talked about, divorcing the resume life. And look, not everybody's wired to have their own business. Not everybody's wired to be self-employed. Not everybody's wired to be working alone or to be the boss and taking on all the responsibility. And that's just fine. It's not about that. What this is about, though, is when we're looking at a resume as the hiring factor, as the desirability for hiring, it's kind of like the spouse that looks good on paper, but you can't stand them, So what you really have to do is you have to look at what is it about this person's spiritual quotient. See, I used to teach it as being about values alignment because companies could understand values, like it was a language. It's whatever the times that we're living in supports people in language as to understand something, what something means. So back in the day, it was like values, company values. Is there a values alignment? And I would teach them how to do a values elicitation, and they could then compare the company values to the values of the person, and they could see where the hiccups were going to be, because you really find out what someone's made of and what they use as a coping mechanism when things get really stressful. When things are good, they're good. But when things are hard, that's when you really find out a person's personality. I had this friend who used to say to me, you really find out what your husband or your wife or your partner's all about by the way they fight. You get into an argument with them, and how below the belt do they go? Like, how much into hate speech do they dive? That kind of thing. So with my CEOs, I was just doing a leadership and management retreat in Newport Beach a week and a half ago. I flew there, and one of the things I presented was this whole remote working thing where people don't want to go into the office anymore. They've had a taste of freedom. They can spend time with their kids on breaks. They can walk away from their desk and walk outside and get some fresh air and not have, a whole office of people around them, et cetera, et cetera. And so how is a business owner going to be able to determine if people are going to perform? Well, that would be assuming that the only people that they've hired are people that need to have mommy or daddy looking over their shoulder, number one. And number two, when you understand vibration, which is the spiritual quotient, right? When you understand vibration, because you as the CEO as the leadership, executive leadership team, as the management team, as the sales leaders, you understand your vibration. You understand what you're projecting because you've done the personal growth work on yourself. Then you can read it and understand it in others. So wouldn't it be interesting if the company of the future, and I'm writing this in a book right now, wouldn't it be interesting if the company of the future hired people not just based on their skills, their training, their experience, their background, their resume, but on their vibration? Because that'll tell you their resiliency, it'll tell you about their curiosity, it'll tell you if they, dig in and become narcissistic at work, or if they go take the high road and they let things go. Are you seeing that with your clients as well? Is there an interest in that?
I would like to say at this moment in time, I don't think there are enough people who have that magnitude of awareness. I love the fact that you're writing a book, and I can see it to be with the future generations, because I think as generations are coming on, they're far more aware of personal development from such a young age. They're far more aware of what spirituality means without it feeling woo-woo and, oh my God, I don't know,
Yeah.
hippified and the way I was brought up for, believing it. So I think with the newer generations, things are definitely accelerating. And I would love to actually see a company that does take not just the values, but also the vibration. But as you said, it's the people. I mean, it's HR. HR needs to understand what vibrations actually mean so that they can hire those kind of people.
They do.
The people in the roles need to have that awareness so that they can, pick up on those kinds of things. I think it definitely be something for the future. I'm definitely don't have it around my clients, for them to be that level of awareness just yet. But thank you. I think I might use that in my own company.
Yeah, because I have one client right now that is very frustrated with his people, and I understand. I mean, I've worked with him for a long time, and I've watched him go through a lot of shifts and changes and growth, and I can agree with him. Just like in personal relationships, in business relationships, sometimes the relationships just run their course, right? And this guy has been really, really dedicated to his spiritual growth, to the point where I'm getting calls and emails from different people on his team going, wow, we're really pleased. Thank you for being such an integral part of our organization, because I didn't let it go. I stayed on it. And, maybe other clients, other companies, I might have said, listen, go take a break, download what we've worked on, put it into play, and then come back. But there was something different about this guy, and I just wasn't going to let it go. And I didn't. And I kept insisting on the growth. And every time I insisted on it, he jumped on it. Now he's insisting on it, and they're seeing a shift in him.
Yeah.
And so he's like, but they're not keeping up. They're not keeping up.
But then isn't it that it's up to him to feed that down?
Because he is. But sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
They don't roll with it.
But you know what? That's okay. I have this conversation with so many of my clients relating to not everybody in this world needs to be a chief or a leader or a visionary or anything else. Because if everybody was that, then who on earth is actually going to be helping us to do the work so that we can do those jobs? So,
but even as it, like in this situation, as he's grown so much, they're not rolling with what he's pushing down into the organization, because he, when I said earlier about being a vibrational snob, I wasn't joking. Like if they're not keeping up, if you're shifting and growing, and the people that you've had with you aren't even desiring to shift and grow, you need new people.
Yes, 100%.
So
And
Right.
not in a
So
horrible way, but this is what
no,
Tony Robbins and Robin Sharma also say on a logical and strategic level, that if the team that you are with to grow in the way that you want and they don't share your vision, then you need to start looking into a new team, as opposed to that loyalty of, you know, holding on to them. Because
well, and
at the end
it's
of the day,
interesting
that conflict
because
start to come.
yeah, and you know, those people have just regurgitated like an age-old message. So
Mhm.
it is about growth. And one of the things I suggested to him is that as we onboard new people, this time, instead of it just being about their experience in the industry, where they went to school and what it says on their resume, we actually look at their vibration, their spiritual quotient, and what their awareness is of themselves, because that's going to make the difference. And that's really, you know, the vibrational elevation is self-awareness. When you don't let yourself go down into these deep holes, these deep programs of negative thinking, and what could go wrong and what could go bad and what doesn't work in the world, etc., then you elevate yourself up that emotional scale into higher levels of awareness and running of your mind and your emotions. You become way more productive,
Yeah,
and more resourceful.
yeah, because you're releasing that waste. You're releasing all of that space. It's like decluttering your home. If you're hoarding in your home, then you don't have space to move around your living room. But as soon as you get rid of all of that excessive stuff, you have your living room back. And it's the same with the mind and your energy. That when you let go of everything that has been holding you and pulling you down, you do have more time to flow. I mean, naturally, spirituality, energy, everything is all about flow. And if it's not flowing, it's like a river. You're building dams, you're building some kind of structures to stop the natural flow, because that's what we're meant to be doing.
It's an energy block.
Yeah.
Yeah, it operates like it's a big cement wall, but
Yeah.
you can't see it.
Yes.
So it's an energy block. So what is you know, what's something that we can leave people with that are with us for this episode? What's a tool just that they can run in their mind that will enable them to raise their spiritual quotient?
Well, I think we've been talking a lot about mindset and we've been talking a lot about energy and stuff. So I want to kind of combine the two together. And this is something I've started experimenting with my clients on. So I'm always saying to my clients, declutter your environment, your friends, your, you know, everything. But start to consciously declutter your thoughts. Start to consciously learn and monitor, not judge, not blame, not call yourself stupid, not, you know, have a go at yourself, but just monitor the daily thoughts that you're having and then start to declutter them little by little. It's always a daily work in progress. So don't expect it to happen in one go. And then start to notice what starts to happen in your life.
Do you remember the toys, the Slinky? Did you
Yeah.
ever have a Slinky?
No,
And it was like this coil.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And if you set it on the stairs,
And it just went
it
down.
would start where it was like
Yeah.
one little ring, and then pretty soon it would speed up and then the whole thing would flip.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's just like one thought at a time, and then pretty soon all of the thoughts, let's say it's a thought of doubt.
Yes.
Start removing that by replacing it with a positive thought, like a thought of empowerment, or a thought of trust, or a thought of I can do it, like an affirmation. And then so then there's less emphasis on the doubt, there's more emphasis on the I can. And pretty soon, like this whole string of doubt thoughts will just dissolve, because it's like the gestalt.
Yeah.
Right?
It
dissolves
really is.
itself.
And it takes a human being 67 to 90 days to reprogram a mind. So please don't expect that it's going to happen in 1 week, 1 day, 1 month. You have to keep at it, but it does begin to happen. And it gets so much easier and you get so much more conscious of it that, as you were saying exactly with the slinky, that it picks up momentum. And before you know it, you're the one controlling your mind and feelings rather than the other way around.
And that's really the key here. Yeah. I mean, when I'm having clients repattern, I say to them, it's a matter of repetition. You have a lot of bandwidth on the old stuff.
Yeah.
So now we want to build up bandwidth on the new thought process,
Yeah.
the new belief system. And a belief is just a thought you think over and over.
Yeah.
So I have them do the 3-7-21 repetitions. You know, the old saying is that it takes 21 days to change a habit, but really that's not true. It can take anywhere between 3, 7, and 21 repetitions. Now, if you really want to immerse yourself into this new pattern, within somewhere between 3 and 21 repetitions, you could do that in 1 day. It doesn't have to take days and weeks and months. It can happen now. And that's the key. That's the key, is that you can change anything you want to change, and you can change it now. Thank you so much for being on here with me today. I appreciate it. What's your URL for your website?
It's actually my name. So my full name, ambilanath.com.
ambilanath.com from the UK. Thank you so much for being here. It's been such a pleasure. I hope you come back again. I'd love to get into this more.
100%. I've had so much fun, and thank you so much, Deborah.
Oh, you're so welcome. And remember, everyone, the Deborah Peters Show runs live on Tuesdays at 12 noon Pacific. I'm on all the major platforms. We live stream on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And then the recording is up the next day on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Rumble, and a whole bunch of others. Please, please, please subscribe. Drop a review. It really makes a difference. What it does is the platforms then push the show out for other people to find. So God bless you all. Have an amazing week ahead. And remember, stay awake, stay aligned, and stay alert.